It is from CNN and then also ESPN. The headline goes something like this. FBI says rope had been in Talladega garage since October. Bubba Wallace is not a victim of a hate crime. Now, if I had a producer, you would have heard something similar to Bubba Wallace is not a victim of a hate crime. But I don't have a producer. But I bet each and every one of you knew that it was coming to a resolution just like this. NASCAR. Bubba lied and NASCAR died. The FBI has determined that NASCAR driver Bubba Wallace was not the victim of a hate crime and that a pull rope fashioned like a noose had been on a garage door at Talladega Superspeedway since as early as October, NASCAR said Tuesday, quote, "The FBI report concludes and photographic evidence confirms that the garage door pull rope fashioned like a noose had been positioned there since as early as last fall," NASCAR said in its statement. This was obviously well before the 43 teams' arrival and garage assignment. But they also had to say this: "We appreciate the FBI's quick and thorough investigation and are thankful to learn that this was not intentional, an intentional racist act against Bubba." Well, wait. Do you folks happen to follow Terrence Williams every once in a while? Because I do. Terrence happens to be a young black man in the United States of America. And he has a megaphone. And he uses it. And today, Terrence Williams happened to say this.
Where the noose was found are the racing teams and perhaps a few essential workers.
Oh, wait, this is a statement from Bubba Wallace. And as this statement is being given, Terrence is consuming food, and then he'll comment.
So what would you say to those people who are doubting that this even happened or that it's true?
Yeah, just like Steve Phelps said, it offends me that people would go to those measures. But again, I'm not shocked. People are entitled to their own opinion to make them feel good, whatever, help them sleep at night.
Yeah, he's not shocked.
But it is still an ongoing investigation with the FBI. I can now say I've talked to the FBI. Never thought that would happen. But it's just unfortunate circumstances and in a terrible time that we're in right now. Year 2020 will be one year to for sure forget.
Okay, I got to tell you this because I've heard this. Folks, listen to what Bubba Wallace thinks of you
moving forward. But it's simple-minded people like that, the ones that are afraid of change. They use everything in their power to defend what they stand up for, and instead of trying to listen and understand what's going on. And like I said, it's still an ongoing investigation. We're still trying to figure out whoever did this crazy act, trying to pinpoint it on somebody and just go through it all. So it's, I think it was better for me not to see it directly. I don't know how I would have reacted, but it's all in their hands now, the FBI's hands, to go through everything and try to figure it out.
Okay, stop right there. Got to stop. And I'm going to ask Jack about this. Did anybody here happen to see a photograph of what whoever the hell went into that garage interpreted as a noose? 5-year-olds could have either walked into that garage and looked at the photograph or seen it live and said something similar to, "That's no noose. That's a pull handle for the garage door." Because the garage door apparently isn't electrified. And you actually need something to pull to get the garage door down. If you haven't yet, folks, take your neighborhood 5-year-old or your very own 5-year-old, show them the photograph and ask them, "Hey, what is this?" That's Terrence. Okay. Yeah.
Oh, no. Y'all cannot do this to me. Stop it. Just stop. Okay. Oh, breathe. Oh, I can't breathe. Oh, my ribs, Lord, my ribs. Oh, you know what, y'all? I'm not about to play with these people.
Okay. By the way, I don't know if you folks caught it or not, but Bubba Wallace said that the people that didn't believe him, you, me, anyone with half a lick of common sense, you're simple-minded. Isn't that nice to be simple-minded? Okay. Well, we've heard that. We've heard Terrence. Jack, Alexander, any thoughts, sir?
Did Jesse Smollett get reincarnated? That was my first response with this whole thing.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, when the story first broke, I was speaking with my eldest son, and his first response was Jesse Smollett. And I'm convinced that that Bubba Wallace wants to, and I'm going to disagree with your statement a little bit on the grounds that Bubba lied, NASCAR died. Bubba lied, and Richard Petty believed him, and NASCAR died. I mean, what the hell's happened to Richard Petty to actually fall for this horseshit?
That's true. I have to tell you that he believed that you're simple-minded. Uh-oh. I hear some feedback on you, Jack. On your end.
And I'm hearing it through you.
Well, he believed that you're simple-minded. Let's stop right there. Uh-oh. I hear some feedback on you, Jack. On your end. All right. This is not going well. I must have something open. And what do I have open? Okay. I shouldn't be hearing this at all. No, I'm afraid, Jack, it must be on your end because the only thing that I've got open is me. And it stopped when I turned you down. So take a peek, Jack. We're going to open this back up to you. And Jussie Smollett feel justified in doing something like this? Do they not get sufficient attention doing what they're doing? These are the most transparent of possible. Whom do you decide that you're going to believe, if anyone, anymore? And now, even when this may be justified in the future, people aren't going to believe other folks. Extremely sad. Hey, Jack.
Monday to Friday doing my podcast on Facebook, YouTube, and wherever good podcasts can be found. Follow me on Instagram.
And we talked about MAGA Book. I'm there and on MeWe and on... That just sounds obscene in and of itself, MeWe. I MeWe'd one time. Nah, doesn't sound all that good. And I'm also on gab.ai. So thanks for telling us where you are, you folks here. And Leslie, did I mention Leslie? With what is happening in Seattle, Washington right now. And Seattle happens to be, along with Portland, the very hub of Antifa and anarchy. And I said initially when I addressed this story, it's kind of like a Marvel origin story, but it really is very, very evil. The precipitous collapse of America is going to find its origins in the decision that Mayor Jenny, that she made to pull all the Seattle police officers out of the East Precinct, and that was at least 2 weeks ago. It was abandoned. And they kind of said it wasn't abandoned, but we knew it was abandoned because we watched the video of the officers pull all the stuff out of the precinct, all the files, all the equipment, all the evidence, all the cars, and then, oddly enough, something really striking happened. All the cops left, too. I don't know. Kind of looks like abandoning things to me. Good old Mayor Jenny Durkin, she's a massive leftist. And she doesn't have any rudder on her available that doesn't move absolutely hard a port. And this was not long after President Trump designated Antifa as a terrorist organization. So what we know about Antifa and what we know about Seattle, and they first called it CHAZ, Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone. And then they called it CHOP. And Jack, do you remember what CHOP stood for? I do not offhand.
Yeah, they had to change it because somebody politely informed them that taking American soil by force and then declaring it sovereign might get them or justify President Trump bringing in the troops. So they changed it to the Capitol Hill Organized Protest, CHOP.
Ah, okay. All right. Excellent. So because I'm wired this way, what the hell? I just called it Chaz Chop. And with that, we're going to take a break. I'll be back after this as per normal, as you would expect of me. I have much more information than we can pack into 2 hours. When I get back, we've laid the groundwork for what is occurring in Seattle. Now, since then, though, things have changed a little bit. Originally, they took 6 blocks of an American city, and I think it's down to 2. Then it expanded to 4. I've heard it's back to 6. I'm not quite sure, but when we come back, I'd like Jack to tell us, considering overall what's been happening in Chazchop in Seattle, what's his solution? And his solution, and then I want you folks to weigh in. As in, does his solution have merit? And is this something we should do? And then I should also tell you this. After the break, which I'm late for now because I kept talking, damn it. If you wish, you can call in on the Teleola phone, the Mark I Model 1 telephone, 575-208-4481. So I've prevaricated enough. Let's go with the promos.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
From a public locker inside a dilapidated Long Island rail station comes a show designed to piss off liberals using truth, facts, and ridicule. The Lid Radio Show, featuring the conservative voice from the People's Republic of New York, the Lid himself, Jeff Dunetz. Tune in every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific on the SHR Media Network. Go to shrmedia.com. At Lid Radio, we fight for the truth, justice, and a good kosher T-bone. If you don't listen, Hillary Clinton might sneak into your bedroom in her housecoat late at night and blame you for her election loss. It's the Lid Radio Show with Jeff Dunetz.
For 50 years, I've seen the American people blinded by corrupt politicians, a lapdog media, and deceptive Islam. The one thing the elites fear is one man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me through Spreaker, iTunes, and SoundCloud, through SHR Media and the Western Free Radio Network, for half a century of experienced perspective on political and social issues, weekly on The Unpleasant Blind Guy. And catch me on Jeff Mitchell's EDL Radio on blogtalkradio.com. There's
no surrender, ever.
Because truth is not always pleasant.
This is Shannon Wright of The Right Way with Shannon and Mike in the AM. Mike's not here, so I gotta talk fast. You gotta join us. Fall season. Getting ready to start up with a whole bunch of new stuff. News and food and politics and sports and entertainment and a whole bunch of stuff. But wait, Mike's coming. I gotta go. Remember, Shannon and Mike in the AM on SHR Media, Monday through Thursday, 7 to 9 a.m. Make sure you tune in.
featuring right thinking from a left brain and doing the job the American maggots won't. BZ is fundamentally changing America one diaper at a time. Just when safety pin manufacturers are running out of metal for the diapers of the leftists, where the speech is free, but the drinks are not. The bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon can be heard every Tuesday and Thursday night, commencing at 11 p.m. Eastern and 8 p.m. Pacific, where pushback is a requisite art form in and of itself. Let your ossicles be truly liberated when you listen to this ad.
Join me, Jack Alexander, for the Jack Alexander Experiment podcast, as I take a unique outsider's look at the issues affecting the USA. I fearlessly take on the issues that everyone else is too scared to touch. The Jack Alexander Experiment podcast is available wherever good podcasts can be found, like Spreaker, iHeartRadio, and Google Podcast. The Jack Alexander Experiment, because it's not a matter of left versus right, it's a matter of right versus wrong.
It's your business diva here, Melanie Collette. I am inviting you to a front row seat as I discuss some of the most intriguing details of wealth and finance with today's movers and shakers in the world of business. Listen in and discover financial truths on a global, domestic, and household scale. Uncover topics that will impact your wallet today and in the future. Money Talk with Melanie airs Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. East, 2 p.m. West, right here on SHR Media and High Plains Pundit Talk Radio. You can't afford to miss it.
Featuring the effervescent contrarian Sackheads Clint, plus the unrestrained bulbosity of BZ, the Sackheads Against Tyranny is a real chat show. Doubling your late-night conservative talk show pleasure with double the hosts, you can listen every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 p.m. Eastern. Please note, some contents may have settled during shipping. Member FDIC, batteries not included, warranty void in Montenegro.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
And we are back. We are here tonight with Jack Alexander. I am BZ, the bloviating Zeppelin. You are in the Saloon, the BZ's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show, where I'm broadcasting behind enemy lines in occupied California, trying to do the best I can with my limited faculties. Thanks to everybody for being here. Thanks to everybody for being in chat, in the SHR chat. Sergeant Booker, the Alaskan Jack, and Leslie, and also in chat that I can find on Facebook. Got Marcia, got Sean, and Claudia Cheek snuck into chat over there. And Marcia and Jack. A lot of folks here. Oh, and Leslie. Leslie is there too. So I thank everybody for being in both chat rooms and listening and watching simultaneously. So I wanted to talk to Jack and get his take on what's happening in Chazchop in Seattle, that autonomous zone, which is now paradise. It's paradise in Seattle. It appears that they're not giving it back. It appears that the police are afraid to go in. It appears that the mayor is a massive, massive leftist. She may be an actual communist. Don't quite know at this point. But Jack Alexander, what do you think ought to be done?
Well, first of all, arrest the mayor for supplying material aid and comfort to a terrorist organization.
Okay.
I mean, through negotiations between the terrorists that are occupying this territory, the mayor has organized the city's Department of Transportation to reinforce, to supply more of the concrete blocks to obstruct law enforcement whenever they turn, whenever forces turn up to liberate this area. So that would be item number one on that list. Now, item two on the list is make it very clear, that they get announced that this is an illegal action. Antifa is a designated domestic terrorist outfit. They're running this show, which gives law enforcement, whether it be county, city, state, and federal, the absolute authority to go in there and take this area back by force. Now, because I'm military, I'm not so much involved in interested in the political aspect of this.
Okay.
Although you in the discussion we had, you said that if my plan was to be enacted, it would be extremely detrimental to President Trump's re-election campaign. I disagree on the grounds that it would show absolutely that Donald Trump stands for law and order. Now, weaponry being the way it is, I think that the majority of the Chaz can be taken with less than lethal weapons. That lethal force, the chances of using lethal force can be minimized. Of course, there is likely to be some asshole that is going to want to make a live or die stand for it.
Mm-hmm.
But which is tragic, because they have really, taken what was a great opportunity for change in this country and completely destroyed it. But this should have happened 2 weeks ago. They should have gone in and taken it back, because it wasn't a peace.
Exactly.
It wasn't a peaceful protest to start with. We have had nothing but violence. I mean, they're advocating for safe drug use zones in the Chaz now. And they're wanting, they're begging for people to bring in drugs so that they can, get high. Not to mention all the other sanitation and other issues that they've caused in the area. The damage they've done to businesses. A multi-billion-dollar business that is trapped in there at the moment has said, screw this, Seattle, screw you, the state of Washington, we're leaving. And they're going to take something like 500 jobs out of the Seattle area with them when they go. Jobs that Seattle, in this post-corona time, probably can't afford to leave. But I come from a background where I am dealt with counterterrorism operations. They have essentially taken this area by force and holding that whole community hostage through terroristic force. You don't negotiate with them. You don't worry about the politics of it. You go in there and you remove them. You drag them out kicking and screaming. Now, if we can get away with using things like pepper balls, stun tasers, batons, and what have you, that's good, because I don't want these people dead, which should be the normal outcome. If my old counterterrorism unit went in, we would just go in there. If you posed a threat, we would put two between your eyes and keep walking. I want every single one of these sons of bitches that are in there incapacitated, zip-cuffed, dragged out, and held up in front of a court and charged on federal terrorism charges. Because this isn't a peaceful protest. This is an act of terrorism and must be treated accordingly.
All very good, well and salient points. And I'm leaving open being convinced, because I want to have an empty brain, a vessel into which you can pour thoughts, etc. But my first thoughts, and you and I spoke about this when we first thought about doing the show, was this. Seattle is leftist central. Washington is now leftist central. Portland is now leftist central. I think there need to be consequences to actions. And one of the consequences there needs to be is consequences for elections. The people in Seattle customarily are leftists, or they wouldn't be there. It has been a leftist haven for literally decades now. The Seattle police is a reflection of that. There was a time when they used to be known for doing a very good enforcement job. However, the job that they're doing today is extremely disappointing, just to say the least. I'm really hedging my bets here. and I'm trying my very best not to cork off like I did last Tuesday night or like I did last night on Ken's show. I owe Ken an apology for that. I really started yelling and screaming. I'm over that by now. But I do believe that there need to be consequences for these actions. And one of the customary responses is, but what about? Okay. But what about the people that own businesses there? Okay. Hold that thought. But what about the people, and I think there are roughly, somebody said anywhere from 5 to 6 to 7,000 people that are in that general area that are residents. They don't own businesses, but I guess there are some apartment buildings and maybe some individual homes and whatnot that are in there that are trapped. And to that I would generally reply, suck the fuck up and live with it. This is the shit that you voted for. This is what you wanted, and if you have a brain that is sufficiently lacking that you don't understand the consequences of your actions of placing people like Jenny Durkin in power and putting Carmen Best in as chief of police, if you don't understand those consequences, then you're going to have to live by yourself in that filth and wallow in it. And if it involves people getting shot and killed, as it has already, and as Chief Best said, getting raped, getting assaulted, well, folks, this is what you wanted. Or you wouldn't have elected a mayor that allowed it to happen, who then appointed a chief who allowed it to happen. This crap needs to have consequences. Now, I must say, I must equivocate, Jack Alexander. I must say that we cannot allow this to occur anywhere else. And it is with Seattle that I clearly admit I draw the line. The line needs to be drawn, and I don't believe President Trump has any problem with doing that. But I also believe, if I'm not mistaken, that President Trump has said something similar to, you built it, you voted for it, you too are going to have to live with whatever consequences there are there. This is not to say that I don't complete exactly what this is, a ceding of United States land to a group of thugs and terrorists inherently grates in the goodness in your craw. It's against everything that you fought for in Australia. You were a member of the Australian military. You worked with U.S. soldiers on U.S. soil, and I appreciate your sacrifice and discipline for having done that. But my point is, if we don't start forcing consequences on people, then this is simply going to erupt in an even greater fashion. Now, this is interesting, and I won't be able to know right now because I got too much stuff, too many screens going in front of me right now. Mayor Jenny Durkin in Seattle has said that Antifa, anybody that was in the Chaz Chop, had until 8 p.m. tonight to get out. But here's the interesting point about that. When she said that they had until 8 p.m. to get out, what is also interesting is what she didn't say. She didn't say, or I'm going to force you out. And she didn't say that she was going to send Seattle police in. What she did say is that she's going to keep Seattle police out. And it's a request. It's a request from Mayor Jenny. Mayor Jenny Durkin requests that you leave Chaz Chop right now. I really mean it. This is like walking into CVS and looking at a mother holding the hand of a 5-year-old and saying, Bailey, I've told you many, many times, you can't have everything, and you have to stop crying, or I'm going to get mad, Bailey. Chaz Chop, you're going to have to leave, or I'm really going to get mad. Now, I'm not going to do anything. There won't really be consequences, but I really, really want you to be gone by 8 p.m. And I'm sure that Chaz Chop is quivering in its boots right now. Jack Alexander, what say you?
Well, my counter to the original thing, to the original point, first of all, is that it hasn't just stayed in Seattle. It's now spread to D.C. There's been efforts in Dallas to do this. There have even been calls in Australia to set up similar Chaz Chop style areas.
Okay.
It's not just which is what I was really scared about to start with.
Right.
That this, once it's allowed to happen in Seattle, it will spread. And we saw that, especially under the Obama administration, with a lot of the racial disharmony that was fostered there. Once it was allowed to foster in one area, everyone thought it was carte blanche across, and that's what's happening. So it's not just a local issue. And look, it doesn't surprise me that Mayor Durkin or Mayor Chaney is toothless in all of this. But here's the thing. Now, according to Wikipedia, the city of Seattle actually crosses the boundaries of 3 separate counties.
Yeah, one of them is King County.
One of them is King County. The other one is Snohomish County and Pierce County.
Okay.
Why is it that the sheriffs of these 3 counties haven't teamed up, put a task force together, and if the city's not going to act, why don't these sheriffs act on this? Because it's obvious that Mayor Jenny's not going to do anything. I mean, here's a carrot with no threat of a stick. Well, if you're a petulant child and you don't want to eat your vegetables, waving a carrot in front of them and asking them, to leave is not going to work. They're going to say, and I'm pretty much sure this is what the response was: "Fuck you, Mayor. Fuck you. We're going to continue doing what we're doing." And so a threat without an offer or an ultimatum without the threat of force to back it up is essentially just hollow words. And well, look, I agree with you to the extent that this should be treated on a state level. Hence, my idea that the 3 county sheriffs that make up the Seattle area should bring all of their troops in and just sweep the streets clean.
In an ideal world, Jack Alexander, I believe that would be very true. This isn't an ideal world, and we have to realize that, especially with Governor Jay Inslee in charge, sitting in the governor's seat, and I think he's in Salem. I think the capital of Washington is Salem. Boy, I hope I'm remembering correctly from my high school civics, because that's just off the top of my head, and I'm sure everybody in chat will let me know if I'm wrong. But Jay Inslee is going to have none of it. Now, my point being that neither Seattle PD or the surrounding counties, Snohomish, Pierce, and King County, they all have the requisite equipment to do everything that they need. Now, there might be some gunfights in there because we know that there are definitely long guns present. We've seen all the photographs of that all around Chaz Chop and in Seattle. So we know that there's only one thing lacking in the entire state of Washington. And I know it's lacking in Seattle, and I'm submitting to you, Jack Alexander, that it's also missing in the sheriffs of these surrounding counties as well. Maybe not as much, but I think they're taking a wait-and-see attitude. And what I mean is, we know for a fact Chief Carmen Best lacks the will to do this. I said a week ago, Carmen Best, Seattle PD Chief Carmen Best, we know exactly what kind of individual that she is. She's a quisling. She's a capitulist. She is someone that doesn't have any courage amongst her. And I say this full well knowing that some of the baddest ass cops that I've seen who had balls that clanked when they walked were females. So it's not a male-female thing for those of you who are saying, oh, BZ, you're just a fucking misogynist.
Yeah, I had a few sergeants in the army that their balls clanked when they walked too. So, yeah, I know exactly the sort of woman you're talking about.
Yes. She doesn't have a... She has... I don't think... Boy, I am torn about this. Okay, let me back up a little bit. I'm going to have to quantify my statement. I watched videos of Berkeley police a year and a half ago look upon riots from Antifa as they were burning Berkeley, destroying, looting Berkeley. And I know for a fact that there were sergeants there observing what was going on, and we found out subsequently that the mayor told the chief of police of Berkeley, who related to the sub-chiefs, captains, lieutenants, and sergeants, don't go into that melee. Let it play out. And that is disgusting. And I said then about Berkeley, and I would say it now, you, and you. Form a V on me. We're fucking going in right now. Once you had the rest of the officers look and see that there's an actual leader amongst them, they would fall all over themselves to cover all the rest of those officers. And it's the same with Seattle PD. Berkeley PD didn't have a sergeant at that time with balls who showed leadership. And Seattle PD is in the same situation. All it would have taken to break that at the time that it occurred, there I am, getting jacked up already, oh fucking well, would have been one sergeant with some stripes and some nuts to say the same thing. You and you and you and you and you. Go get all your damn riot gear. Get it all, assemble, be back here in 10 minutes. We're going the fuck in, and I'm leading the way. Here's our V. We practiced all the riot formations. You're going in with me. I'm leading with my chin. We're going to kick ass and take names, and we're not going to let these fuck nozzles take over Seattle. This is the city that we love. This is the Seattle that we've been tasked to protect. And all the rest of the officers, likely, once the ice had been broken, and they would have said something similar to, well, I guess I'm not going to get my nuts hung out because I didn't make that decision. I'll go along with that there, Sergeant. And they'd back his or her ass up at that time. That's exactly what Seattle lacked. That's also what Seattle PD's chief lacks. Courage. Why? Because she's in fear for her job. All it would have taken to save a rape, a death, looting, rioting, burning of businesses, terrorizing the hell out of residents was one chief, one individual with courage to say, you lieutenant and you sergeant, get all your troops, gear them up, we're going the hell in. And the mayor would have said, you're fired. And the chief that day would have said, fine, fuck you, but in the meantime, we're taking back your city. That's all it would have taken. But they didn't. They had all the equipment they needed. Now, I have to tell you this. You probably already know this, folks. I got 2 more minutes before the top of the hour break. The mayor told Seattle that you're not going to be using 40 millimeter, you're not going to be using gas munitions, and you're not going to be using pepper ball. All you're going to be using is all the stuff that's on your belt. And they also, because they had the equipment there, they didn't just burn it in a pile. They had the equipment there to be used if they wanted it, but they lacked the will. And that's the only difference. Well, if we paid for all of that stuff as taxpayers, and the mayor decided and the chief decided not to use it, who put them there? Oh, that's right. all you little fucksticks that are there right now that are going, oh my God, I didn't see that Antifa was bad. Oh my God, I couldn't see that BLM was going to do this to me. One death later, numerous rapes later. Are you that fucking ignorant? Well, apparently you are. And you need to suffer the damn consequences for that. That's my point. Jack, I'm sorry for having blown your ears off. The rest of the folks, I apologize for having blown your ears off. I'm going to play a promo. I'll come back, and trust me, I'll be better after this.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
From a public locker inside a dilapidated Long Island rail station comes a show designed to piss off liberals using truth, facts, and ridicule. The Lid Radio Show, featuring the conservative voice from the People's Republic of New York, the Lid himself, Jeff Dunitz. Tune in every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific on the SHR Media Network. Go to shrmedia.com. At Lid Radio, we fight for the truth, justice, and a good kosher T-bone. If you don't listen, Hillary Clinton might sneak into your bedroom in her housecoat late at night and blame you for her election loss. It's the Lid Radio Show with Jeff Dunitz.
Hey, are you guys listening? This is Shannon from Right Way with Shannon and Mike in the AM on SHR Media. I know you've been wondering where we are and what's been going on. Well, folks, that's right, we're back. So please join us 7 to 9 a.m. Monday through Thursday on SHR Media, on Spreaker, iHeartRadio, and Spotify, and Facebook Live at 11 a.m. on Right Way with Shannon and Mike in the AM at Facebook. You don't want to miss a minute. We've got lots of guests, lots of segments, and lots of interesting things. And let's face it, there's nowhere for you to go, so you might as well tune in. Again, Right Way with Shannon and Mike in the AM. We're back live on the air on SHR Media, 7 to 9 a.m. Monday through Thursday, audio and Facebook Live, audio and video. Yes, we are going to do video. Facebook Live, Right Way with Shannon and Mike in the AM. Hope to see you soon.
Broadcasting behind enemy lines in occupied California, a mere 2 miles from the state capital, the bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show can be heard every Tuesday and Thursday night at 8 p.m. Pacific and 11 p.m. Eastern, only on the SHR Media Network. Go to shrmedia.com to listen. You can also watch on the SHR Media Facebook page and the SHR Media YouTube channel. No goldfish were abused in the making of this ad.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
It is he that is me, bringing perspective from across the sea. Join me, Jack Alexander, 4 days a week for the Jack Alexander Experiment podcast, as I take a unique outsider's look at the news and issues affecting life and liberty here in the USA. I'll show you what the mainstream media refuses to. Politics, border security, defense, healthcare, travel, nothing is off limits. Catch the Jack Alexander Experiment podcast each Monday to Thursday on Facebook, YouTube, and everywhere good podcasts can be found. Also, check out the website www.jackalexanderexperiment.com.
Southern Sense is conservative talk with Annie, the radio chick Ubellis as host and C.S. Bennett co-host. Informative, fun, irreverent, and politically incorrect. You never know where they'll go, but you'll love the journey. Annie is a top conservative host on Top Talk Radio and features some of the finest guests packed with important politicians and newsmakers. Listen every Friday, 3 to 6 p.m. Eastern, noon to 3 Pacific on the SHR Media Network. Remember, Southern Sense is common sense.
After 6 years covering terror and corruption, the Unpleasant Blind Guy is making a change. I'm Dave Milner. Join me on Spreaker and YouTube through SHR Media and on the Western Free Radio Network as I team up with Jeff Mitchell, host of the English Defense Elite radio show on blogtalkradio.com. Check show pages for air times. It's the Unpleasant Blind Guy.
On EBL Radio.
There's
No surrender, ever.
Because truth is not always pleasant.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
It's your business diva here, Melanie Collette. I am inviting you to a front row seat as I discuss some of the most intriguing details of wealth and finance with today's movers and shakers in the world of business. Listen in and discover financial truths on a global, domestic, and household scale. Uncover topics that will impact your wallet today and in the future. Money Talk with Melanie airs Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. East, 2 p.m. West, right here on SHR Media and High Plains Pundit Talk Radio. You can't afford to miss it.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
We are back. It's the second hour. As per normal, I have so much stuff, so much material, and I'm not going to get but to a fraction of it tonight. With me tonight, I must say, we have Jack Alexander. He is here as a sounding board for Logic while I spin off into the ozone somewhere near the orbit of planet Zephron. Because I'm wondering just how crazy wrong I am. In SHR Media Chat, welcome to Sergeant Booker, the Alaskan, Leslie. Great to see you here, Leslie. Jack, guest 5699. And I have to tell you this. If you didn't get it, folks, guest 5699 is always infinitely better than guest 5698, who is a loser, absolute loser. So thanks to guest 5699 for being here. Thanks to Jack for being in the Facebook chat. Boyd is in the Facebook chat. Leslie Sean is in the Facebook chat. We're learning some things about the Facebook chat. It's not playing nicely tonight. Johnny is in Facebook chat. Sean is in Facebook chat. Thanks to everybody for being in the Facebook chat and chatting. And apparently Facebook isn't playing nice. I asked in Facebook, and I'll ask you guys now. In terms of streaming services, and a lot of folks that are here have come over from the Jeremy Hansen show. My understanding, and I've only been aware of Jeremy for, 6 months, a little bit less than a year. Jeremy's on Spreaker only right now, and Spreaker chat, everybody gets in there, has a great time, good chat room, etc. But all you do is you just hear the audio. I kind of like video. Facebook apparently is not cooperating all that much. And I suspect, should we have a loss in November, Facebook is going to come down on the necks of every conservative. So in possible anticipation of that, I'm trying to find a place where I will be, shall we say, less fucked with than anybody else. YouTube has already screwed the pooch for me. I do not find that a very kind platform. Although they're not a platform, they're an editor and a publisher, which means they should be subject to every sanction in the planet. That having been said, I said on Facebook I was wondering and thinking about going to Periscope. I've been there before, but I'm just trying to make my way through life. Let me ask you guys right now, and let me ask Jack. Let me ask everybody in chat, and I'd like everybody to weigh in both chat rooms, and also Jack right now. We're going to come back to Seattle. What do you folks think about Trump's chances in November? Because there's no, it's like, have you guys heard this said on social media? Well, the independents could take it one way or the other for Trump. And he has to play for the independents in order to win in November. Okay. Stop. These are the American media maggots saying that. Do you possibly think, folks, that there are any independents in the United States who have not already made up their minds about President Trump. Can you envision an independent right now going, well, I'm just not convinced about Trump. I'm not really sure if I like him, and I'm not really sure if I hate him, and I don't really have any solid opinion. Bullshit! That's what the American media maggots are trying to convince you of, that the independents are there to be taken and squeezed and drained like ripe fruit. Bullshit. They've already made up their minds, and so have you. And so have I. And there isn't anything from now until November that's going to shake that tree. So I ask you, Jack, and everybody in chat, let me know. What do you think? Is Trump going to win in November? I believe yes, but for the craziest of reasons. So, folks, weigh in chat in SHR and weigh in chat in Facebook. I want to hear what you have to say. Jack, what do you think?
Oh, I don't think there's any doubt that Donald Trump will win the next election. Look, don't get me wrong. He is an obnoxious, arrogant son of a bitch. And that is why we all like him. He doesn't mince his words. When Donald Trump talks, there's no ambiguity. Whether you like what he says or don't like what he says, you know exactly what he says, and there's no two ways of taking it. He says what he means what he says, and that's pissing off everyone. And look, you and I have spoken about Donald Trump and re-election for a long time.
Yep.
And look, not only do I think he will get re-elected, he will get re-elected and have control of both the Senate and the Congress. That's my take on it. And look what Donald Trump did in 3 years. He managed to get rid of the 8-year legacy of Barack Obama, the ineptitude of George W. Bush, and the clusterfuckery of William Jefferson Clinton. He did that in 3 years with all the obstructionism in the world. Now, imagine what miracles Donald John Trump, the guy with the dead orange cat on his head, as you say, imagine what he could do with control of the House and Senate and no obstructionism. Could you imagine how blessed this country could be for the next 4 years?
Blessed, but blessed in the exact opposite fashion that leftist Democrats and the American media maggots would want. Sarah says yes in Facebook chat. And I would agree. Sean said he's going over to YouTube to take a peek. I guess Facebook is mercilessly screwing with him on that. Johnny says to win big, he must immediately end the shutdown, lock up the deep state, and stop big tech censorship. Oh, there are so many ways to parse that. That could be the rest of the show right there. Let's see. In chat, Leslie says in chat, Facebook is going to start their censorship before the end of the summer of all conservatives. Absolutely. And she also says Trump is going to win in a massive landslide, the likes this country's never seen, unless they actually pull off the greatest voter fraud, the likes of which this country has never seen. Sergeant Booker says unless there's a huge bombshell or he steps on his dick, he's a guarantee to win. Voter fraud is the only way he's going to lose. Correct. Now, it's interesting that there was a tweet allegedly sent out by AOC saying that the government and the governors must keep the COVID-19 Wuhan 19 flu in place, people inside, so that the ballots can be sent to everybody. You and I both know, everybody within the sound of my voice listening live and or in the podcast, and Jack Alexander as well. In California, always spell it with a K. We know that there is massive and rampant voter fraud. I play this cut frequently of Robert Epstein, who says that it is within ease of Facebook ginning up 15 million votes for anyone they wish, and likely in 2020 they will do that in the discussion that he had with Senator Ted Cruz. I would tend to agree with that. completely. I say and have said that there isn't exactly what the leftist Democrats accuse you of. That's exactly what they are doing simultaneously at the precise time. So when they pitch a bitch, they're doing it also. So there will be voter fraud on an unprecedented scale this year. And all the states that are leftist will go definitely for mail-in ballots because you can ballot harvest. And if you are unfamiliar with ballot harvesting, oh my goodness gracious. So let's go back to Seattle just for a moment. Antifa had a bunch of demands. And they said that they're not leaving without these demands having been met. They said essentially remove, not just defund, but remove the Seattle Police Department. In the process of the dismantlement of the Seattle Police Department, they want the use of armed force to be banned entirely. No guns, no batons, no shields, no chemical weapons, especially against those exercising their First Amendment rights as Americans to protest. The very same things that they're going to remove from you, America, if they get installed in November. They want an end to the school-to-prison pipeline. They demand that not the city government or the state government, but the federal government, whoa, all of a sudden they love the federal government, launch a full-scale investigation into past and current cases of police brutality. They demand reparations for I'm going right down their list. I'm going right down this list. And the reason I'm doing that is because this list of demands will end up being the list of demands that will be placed upon leftist cities all around the United States if Trump loses. You will not see. I almost don't. Okay, well, so many thoughts cascading in my head right now. Jack, since you're here, let me ask you, what do you think the United States will look like on November 4th of 2020 should Joe Biden win?
Does the term shit show or clusterfuck ring a bell?
Yes. What do you suspect will be job one within, I don't know, say the first 10 days of a Joe Biden administration, although it won't be run by Joe, for God's sake?
Well, I was going to say, the first thing he'll do is try and work out where the hell his sanity's gone, or his mental faculties. But look, those people, those puppet masters pulling his strings will actually, I never thought that I'd be wishing for Hillary Clinton to be running.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did. You said Hillary Clinton was going to come in from the wings.
Yeah. But we still have that chance when it comes to the vice presidential thing too. But I'm beginning to think that the puppet masters behind Joe Biden will do a better job at screwing up the nation than Hillary Clinton could actually dream of at this stage.
Yeah, I would.
It's sort of like somebody at the Democrat Party has sort of been listening to Hillary and her plans, and then the Biden camp, which is a great demonstration of elder abuse, by the way. Has somebody in the background has gone, here, hold my beer and watch this.
Who do you think, and folks in chat, I'd be curious what you think also. I know who's been mentioned as top spot for VP for Biden. I've heard Kamala Harris. Anybody here in chat, and Jack, do you think it's going to be Kamala Harris?
Given the slavery connection with Kamala Harris and her grandfather in Jamaica, that might be a bit of a tough sell at the moment. Stacey Abrams, I think, would be a better chance.
Really?
The other one.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow, okay.
She has it's hard to imagine that Stacey Abrams has less baggage to bring into this than Kamala Harris. But there was another one. Name escapes me at the moment.
Another female, are you talking about?
Yeah. Well, Biden's made the commitment. It's going to be a female vice presidential candidate. But I've forgotten who it was. It was definitely a radical black woman as well that made Abrams look moderate. But
Leslie Holker in chat says Stacey Abrams is a puke.
We agree.
Leslie, you made me laugh. Okay.
Speaking of pukes, apparently AOC has come out and said that she's black now too. All Latinas are black.
Oh, how convenient.
So consequently, she realized that given the number of challenges that she's got on both the left and right for her re-election prospects, maybe she's trying to fight for the job as well.
At this point, I kind of think it might be Kamala Harris. She's been in politics. I can't say she's polished. But you bring up an interesting point with Stacey Abrams, a very interesting point with Stacey Abrams. Folks, I'm going to do this. I should have done this all along. If you want to give me a call, and yeah, I know it's on a telephone, and yeah, I know it's possibly long distance for you, depending on where you are. If you want to give me a call and weigh in, I'm certainly, the phone line is open. The phone line, singular. Hey, it's a cheap-ass show, okay? The phone line, singular, is open. 575-208-4481. You're actually calling Roswell, New Mexico. Just thought I'd tell you. So you're not calling me, but I get it on the phone right here. If you're interested in calling, maybe I should put the number up. Oh, no, I can't. My cursor's not working. Okay, great. Thank you very much. Loving the technology. Anyway, 575-208-4481. Now let's go and ask this question. Jack, you bastard, in SHR chat, Jack has said, AOC, the only woman I know of that is too stupid to work at Hooters. Jack, you evil incarnate individual, you. Since then, since Chaz, and Jack's bottom line is go in and get him. Go in and ferret him out. And I think Leslie in chat, if I'm not mistaken, because I can't go up to look, but I think Leslie or Sean had said something similar to, maybe it was Sergeant Booker who said something similar to, it's a trap for Trump. If he goes in and there's bloodshed spilled, everyone and his brother across the nation is going to see and say that he's responsible for literally shedding blood in the gutters of an American city. That's predominantly my case for saying, let it play out. Don't let it occur anywhere else. But if Seattle doesn't have the huevos to stave this off now, sorry, Seattle is gone. Seattle is gone. It may not be coming back for a while. And again, is anybody out there, Jack? I can't. My cursor is not working. So has anybody gone out there to see what is occurring in Seattle right now? Mayor Janie Durkin gave him until 8 o'clock to vacate Chaz, and my guess would be everybody in Chaz Chop said no. And then Mayor Jenny says, well, you can't say I didn't ask nicely, and then it'll be dropped. That'll basically be the end of it. So we had...
I'm not finding it. I'm not finding any news reports that Chaz is being folded up, nor am I seeing any reports that Mayor Janney has sent in the troops.
I have one of the best chat rooms in SHR. Leslie says, Kamala Harris is a vicious bitch who slept her way to the top. Well, I happen to know for a fact that's very, very true. She got in with the former mayor of Oakland, and he was also in California politics for quite some time. And I'm going to ask people, folks, this is California history. But who was Kamala Harris sleeping with, and who was the mayor of Berkeley? If I had that, I'd go do 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 do. A big player in California politics. And by the way, she
Wasn't it?
She.
What's your name? Booker.
I'm sorry. What's that?
Is it Mayor Booker?
No.
Or my...
Sergeant Booker got it right there. Willie Brown. So here's the deal. Willie Brown was married, conducted an affair with Kamala Harris, and then rode his coattails, amongst other things, into prominence in San Francisco as Attorney General. So Leslie happens to be exactly 100% right. Sergeant Booker says, BZ, I'd be willing to go up to Seattle to be your on-scene reporter. Just let me bring my Glock. Problem is that you'd be arrested and they would bury you under the jail for actually carrying a firearm. To go back to my original question, here's what I believe will occur on November 4th, should the Democrats win. Within the first 10 days, they will write a large omnibus bill, similar to that of Australia that occurred in 1996, and they will begin gun confiscation. It won't be a proscription on guns. It will be something similar to there will be no more purchasing. And if you think you're going to get grandfathered in on this, that won't occur. And first they'll allow, like Eric Swalwell, they'll allow you to turn them in, like Australia, and then they'll start threatening you, and then there will be lawsuits, and then there will be an index case town or city that will actually send law enforcement to confiscate said weapons, and that's a really good way to start the second Civil War. Let me ask you this, folks, Jack. I hate to be a doomsayer, a naysayer, but at this point, I don't see the avoidance of another American Revolution. Because I don't believe that Democrats, leftists, and any other person in any of those other categories, ably abetted by the American media maggots, have the wherewithal, the internal fortitude, the ability, the mental fecundity to stop being stupid and stop pushing normal people. And if they continue on, I believe there really will be a very, very, just like Creedence Clearwater Revival said, there will be a very bad moon on the rise. Any thoughts, Jack Alexander?
Well, I actually said for a long time on my show that the second Civil War has actually already started. It started with the attempted assassination by a Bernie bro of Steve Scalise.
Okay.
While training for the congressional softball game.
Okay.
That was I believe the first shot fired in the Second American Civil War. And then some of these other shootings that have gone on, like the Las Vegas shooting at the Country Music Festival, the way the media played around it, saying, well, it's conservatives that listen to country music, they got what they deserved.
Oh, yes.
Sort of reinforced that within my mind. And look, I love my country music. Had I been in Vegas, I would have been at that concert. because I was I'm a big fan of pretty much everyone that was playing that music festival. But so I honestly think that the Civil War started, and it started under the presidency of Barack Hussein Obama.
Okay, and what are you saying that in sort of a large overarching umbrella kind of thing?
Well, with all of these sorts of revolutions, there is that shot that's heard around the world that starts things inevitably on that progression towards that. I think the assassination attempt of Steve Scalise was that particular incident. And it's just been slowly building up from there, given the way that the Obama administration allowed this sort of racial bullshit that we see so much more prevalent now, and allow that to be not punished. I mean, Black Panthers at polling points in New York threatening white people unless they pledge to vote for Barack Obama.
Oh, right.
Those
were the Black Panthers that were in Philadelphia, and that was where Eric Holder had the ability to stop them and decided not to.
Yeah.
Folks, it's 9:30, which means it's 12:30 on the East Coast, and it means that it's 1749 and 17.723 subcluster 4, Growth Cluster 9 in Bolivia, because I don't know what Bolivian time is really. And what time is it in Australia right now, Jack?
It's 2:30 on a Wednesday afternoon.
Wednesday afternoon. So, see, Jack has magically leapt ahead into the future. And because he has leapt ahead, I'm not going to play the promos. I just want to remind everybody of this.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
And here's what we're facing with cops decide. Somebody in chat mentioned something about Jesus, and this came from Sean King. Sean King is a guy that he thinks he's a black guy. They call him Talcum X. And Sean King that's funny. Whoever thought of that? That's a beautiful idea. Sean King decided yesterday it would be great to put out a tweet that said this, because I'm looking at it distinctly. Yes, all murals and stained glass windows of white Jesus and his European mother and their white friends should also come down. They are a gross form of white supremacy, created as tools of oppression, racist propaganda. They should all come down. Here's the point, and Leslie also indicated this in chat. Wouldn't this be a perfect time to attempt to instigate more or insert more of Islam? And I would tend to say yes. Now, this is interesting. This I find a very interesting conundrum, because there are already elements in various religions, much more leftist religions, who are supporting and have supported illegal immigrants and what the leftists are doing. Now, what happens to these supporters in churches, just like Pastor Niemöller said, when all these leftists, Antifa, BLM, etc., and all the Sean Kings, the Talcum X's of the world, decide that they're going to come for your stained glass windows in your church? Then what do? Pastor Niemöller your ass out of that one, religion, if you can. Because if you think that Sean King, having expressed it in Twitter, if that isn't an idea that is cruising through the wheelhouses of Antifa and BLM, you can bet your ass it is. So this is where it's going, America. They, the WCM, the woke child mob, BLM, Antifa, Democrats, GAUPs, what I call guilty overeducated white people, GAUPs, black activists, anarchists, and even some Republicans, they are now coming for whites. They're now coming for your religion. They are coming for your culture. They're obviously after your history to eliminate it wholesale. They're coming for your freedoms. They're coming for your rule of law. They're coming for your very nation. Religion, leftist people who are in religion, ignore all of this at your own peril. Jack, any thoughts?
Look, as far as the religion side of it, I'm a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
Okay.
Now, normally us Mormons are fairly quiet, reserved sorts of people. But if you look at Mormon history in the United States, if you back a Mormon into a corner, there is going to be bloodshed. Mormons are not afraid to stand up and fight to the death to protect what we believe. And I want to see, I honestly want to see, these BLM freaks and the leftists try that in Utah. Try that in parts of Arizona. Even try that in Nevada. I mean, Las Vegas has a large Mormon population in it as well. When Giuliani kicked the mob out, apparently the Mormon church was the only people honest enough to run Las Vegas, which I found immensely surprising, considering the church's take on gambling. But I'm a convert into the faith. So as I've read through history, and a lot of Mormon history is closely intertied with early American history. So, and the number of times that as a faith we've had to stand and fight for what we believe, they're not going to have an easy time of it when you get out of the big cities on the left and right coasts. And I can honestly say that out of a lot of the Baptists that I know, Lutherans and even your Pentecostals, in the flyover, what my good friend Kate Delaney would call the flyover states, they're going to have a cow of a time trying their bullshit there. And I almost want them to try and do it because, most of America, which is those flyover states, they're fed up with all of this bullshit. They want this to go away and to us to go back, America to go back to being the welcoming melting pot that it has been for over 100 years. And, they curse the name Barack Obama for upsetting that apple cart.
It's a very interesting conundrum. Leslie makes another interesting point in chat. She says, Sean King, I wouldn't be surprised if he's a radical Islamic. I would not be surprised either. And as I also said and concluded, and I have it here somewhere, I might be able to find the audio cut on this if I look. She said BLM is fundraising for the DNC, the same party that has pandered to them for decades for their votes by promising to fix their neighborhoods and schools and then disappear until the next election. As she said, essentially nothing changes. And President Trump, of course, has worked very hard with black leaders to do what the DNC didn't. So talk about shooting yourself in the foot supporting the DNC. But beyond that, and I'm looking for this, the co-founder of BLM is a Marxist and said this, and it goes, and Ken McClinton and I are in lockstep with this. And I'm trying to find the audio cut, folks, for you, because I know that it's here. But essentially, she's a Marxist, Leninist, and the ultimate goal for BLM is socialism and or, I believe, communism. That's coming. I'm not finding this, and I'm looking throughout this. Here's a very interesting cut. I want to play this. This is, if I can somehow manage to cue this up. Oh, you son of a gun. You moved on me, Twitter. Here we go. This is Louis Farrakhan, and I believe that he's on... Nobody's going to remember this guy. Okay. All right. I think I found it. I need to go back. Here we go. This is Louis Farrakhan.
You, someone who's obviously educated, has given up hope completely. Like when you call upon us, you say white folk, you say black people, Jewish people. Why can't we come together? We obviously can come together. We just have to. We just have to find a way to do it.
By the way, this is on Phil Donahue.
Is good, but the reality is the total opposite of your desire. And unfortunately, as a young lady, you are not in the position of power to make the decisions to make America work. May I, as an audience of intelligent people, I would like to just take a moment to say to you that I really don't think you fully understand what has happened to these people that you look at as second class or inferior citizens in this nation.
That's a bald blanket accusation that Louis Farrakhan and other racists, Louis Farrakhan is a racist, people who side with Louis Farrakhan are racists, that they've been getting away with for decades.
Black people who were brought to this country were stripped of their names, language, culture, religion, God, and taken totally away.
Okay, Louis given me some problems. Essentially what he was saying is that they've been removed. Well, the other point, the other thing that nobody brings up is the fact that when slaves were sold, there had to be sellers. Who, Jack Alexander, I know you know this answer. When slaves were sold in the 1700s and 1800s to various countries, who were the African sellers of African slaves? Hit it.
They would be other Africans.
Huh.
With an overdose of melanin.
Huh. Imagine that. Imagine that. Okay, I've tried to find the thing on the co-founder of BLM, and I just can't find it. Let's get back to cops here for a second, because I want to wrap up this show tonight on cops. There's some things that I want to point out. Atlanta PD is lying to everybody, because after almost a week, I should point out that there is still a massive blue flu in Atlanta. Here are some other things that you can't unsee. LAPD homicides are up 250% in the first week of June. New York City, murders continue to surge in New York City with 38 killings just in the last 4 weeks. That's almost unheard of with New York City. There was a YouGov poll that discovered 16% of America wants to defund the police. 65% oppose it. But who are you hearing from? None of those people. Here's another aspect. Truck drivers are telling people they're not going to deliver to cities with defunded police departments. They're saying things like simple. We may not like it all the time, but law and order is necessary. Most places we go already can be dicey, and about the only time you see his cop is when lights are on behind you. But they've already said, well, we're not going to go into cities and deliver if you defund your police. How you going to get supplies? Who are you going to call? Not Ghostbusters. Then San Francisco decided that it was going to take a really significant step. SFPD said that they're not going to respond to non-criminal calls anymore. They're going to stop responding to neighbor disputes. Oh, that'll go well. They're not going to be responding to reports of the homeless. They're not going to be responding to any school discipline interventions. No school discipline interventions. And any non-criminal activities, and that's all part of their police reform. This I loved from the article that I'm reading. As part of the police reform, military-style weapons would be banned in an effort to demilitarize the San Francisco Police Department. This would include weapons like tear gas, bayonets, and tanks. Now, I got to say, that's some funny shit right there. I can just imagine SFPD fixing their bayonets as they climb into a nice M1 Abrams tank. Jack Alexander, does SFPD have Abrams tanks?
Not the last time I was in San Francisco.
That's just nutty.
It'd be a gay old time if they did.
Yeah. Okay, then this is what happened also. Albuquerque, New Mexico, decided that they weren't going to be outdone by San Francisco. Nope. Albuquerque said they're going to send unarmed social workers, not police officers, on some 911 calls. So when people call 911, they're not calling to say, I'm having a really great day. Would you send me a cop, please? No, there's some kind of a crisis. Albuquerque Mayor Tim Keller said that the city would create a first-of-its-kind cabinet-level department that respond to calls on inebriation, homelessness, addiction, and mental health. So, mental health, the outcomes. So take heart, America, okay? Because the big, stupid response to this is already occurring. It occurred in Azusa, California. Always spell it with a K. Azusa. This came out in a press release. Today, that would be June 16th, at approximately 12:37 hours, Azusa police officers responded to a call for service at an apartment complex in Azusa. You're going to love this. This is grotty. This is wonderful. A mental health therapist was conducting a home visit with a patient when the patient grabbed a knife and asked her to watch him kill himself. The therapist ran out of the apartment complex and called Azusa PD. On arrival, officers made contact with a suicidal male who was attempting to jump off the 2-story building. Let's see. If you'd sent cops first instead of mental health professionals, things might have been maybe a little bit different. But, rioters, looters, they have feelings of their own. Words are violence too. So riots, violence, looting, those are words that way too many people are finding offensive. The term riot tends to connote a senseless venting of frustration, of destroying your own community and all these other things that are counterproductive, as if there couldn't be political value in urban unrest. So, folks, when your neighborhood is trashed, just remember that's urban value. That's political value in urban unrest. Oh, wait, I found it. Here we go. This is BLM co-founder. Oh, God, what is her name? Patrice. Oh, gosh, I can't think of her last name. But she is a proud Marxist. And let's see if this is going to be nice and play for me.
I also think that it might...
This is Patrice Cullors. That's her name. Not C-O-L-O-R-S. C-U-L-L-O-R-S.
I think of a lot of things. The first thing I think is that we actually do have an ideological frame. Myself and Alicia in particular are trained organizers. We are trained Marxists. We are super versed on sort of ideological theories. Mm-hmm. And I think that what we really try to do is build a movement that could be utilized by many, many Black folk.
Yeah. They're trained Marxists. Jack, do you think that BLM has an ultimate goal?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. It's to turn the United States into the shithole that Africa now is.
Because it's so wonderful?
Oh, yeah.
Apparently so.
they keep going on about what, we've got to get rights. What rights do they want? I mean, they already have the right to vote, the right to drink, the right to move wherever they want. They have exactly the same rights as you and I have. They choose to stay in the shit and squalor and keep playing. And for the young listeners out there, please don't be offended by this. They want to keep playing the nigger thug and keep playing the race card. They're just a bunch of wannabes. They wouldn't know hardship if it up and bit them in the ass.
It's very interesting. Let me ask you this. We all know that poverty pimps and race pimps exist in the guise of Al Sharpton and the Reverend Jesse Jackson. NYPD is saying that there might be Independence Day come July 4th. There are 38,000 to 40,000 NYPD officers. They're saying something similar to, we might give you Independence Day on July 4th. That is to say that you will be independent of officers. Do you think that'll occur, Jack Alexander?
No, I think there are just too many good cops in New York City. As much as I like to rag on New York City, there still are, given there's 30 or 40,000, members of the NYPD, I think there are just too many people in the NYPD who are in law enforcement for all the right reasons, and they won't back down. And, maybe even against the chief of police and the mayor's orders, they will get out there, they will put on the uniform, they will do their job to protect and serve at the risk of losing their jobs. And I'm quite sure that there is a ton of sheriff's departments around the country that will gladly take those then unemployed officers in, because they have proven that they will put their commitment to the community above their paycheck.
Okay, a very interesting observation. Just a programming note. Oh, and this just came into my brain hazing group. Next Tuesday night, I'm going to be going in detail into the plight of law enforcement, some things that people may not be aware of. And also as a programming note, this coming Thursday night, not tomorrow night, but Thursday night, in the first hour, I'm going to have Kurt Schlichter back. And Kurt has written 4 novels in the People's Republic series, where exactly what's happening right now in the United States has already occurred in his novel. And then, just note to self and everyone else listening, I'm going to see if I can light up Kurt Schlichter. I don't think that's going to be too terribly hard, but I've noticed that though he's hosted for Rush Limbaugh, he's hosted for Hannity, he's hosted for Hugh Hewitt and a whole bunch of other people. He's an attorney. He writes, you'll hear all this stuff on Thursday when I have him back in, but I've noticed that on all of the shows that he does where he guest hosts and or writes his columns at townhall.com, and I've read his articles here for quite some time, Kurt tends to let his hair down on my show. So Thursday night, just be aware, folks, I'm going to ask Kurt about his books, and I'm going to attempt to light him up. And then as I light him up, you'll probably hear me lit as well, because none of us anymore can afford to take this lying down. Sergeant Booker said, I think the NYPD will go to work, but will they respond? That's a very, very interesting observation.
Everyone's writing books.
Yeah. Now, these are fiction books. I don't know if you've ever heard Kurt Schlichter on my show before, but one of the reasons I first got him is because I read his first book, People's Republic, and it's a dystopian future where at the time, 2 years ago, people were thinking, yeah, that might be able to happen. Except it's happening right in front of our faces at this point. Leslie said, Sergeant Booker, you couldn't pay me enough to do their job. And Leslie, as you probably already know, I spent 41 years in law enforcement. I retired in 2016. There are many, many times and many, many days when I look back and I keep thinking, oh, I'd love to be back on the job. But at my advanced age, I can't physically do it anymore. And the other aspect of that is, nor in these tempestuous times would I really want to. I feel sorry for today's law enforcement officers who don't know law enforcement as I knew it back then, where I was shot at 4 times. I returned fire 1 time, got into my own very intimate critical incident. I worked for the FBI, the U.S. Marshal, a coastal sheriff's department. Then I retired after 35 years from the county that surrounds us right now, Sacramento County. But I could no more conduct myself in law enforcement than I could the man in the moon. The only thing that I do regret is that I cannot influence any more of these troops, because my job was to attempt to set all of these individuals, male and female, on the proper course so that they were always doing the right thing for the right reason and having the law backing them up. But sadly, altogether too many departments all around the nation, not just necessarily in leftist areas, are not backing their troops. And I think if this continues, and on next Tuesday night, I'm going to be talking, well, I might even do a bit of it on Thursday night. The future of law enforcement is very, very grim. And I can see where, folks, I'll close the show and then I'll turn it over to Jack. I'll close the show tonight with this. Up until about 2 weeks ago, you had law enforcement with you, Americans. Law enforcement, and I really can't say that I know because I've spoken to a lot of people, anybody who said anything even remotely similar to Floyd deserved what he got, and that guy acted properly. That officer, I can't remember his name, nor am I interested in remembering his name. But George Floyd got what he deserved. I haven't heard one officer say that. All the officers were with taking that officer, internal discipline. Even if you decide that you want to prosecute, go ahead and do it. Grand jury up, whatever it takes. There were going to be the investigation. There are so many things that are yet to be discovered, I believe, about that case. But folks, up to 2 weeks ago, you had law enforcement on your side. And then when the rest of the nation decided that they were going to make an enemy out of law enforcement, you do that at your own peril. Because I can tell you that CalPERS, which is the California, always spell it with a K, public employee retirement system, is flooded with people that are doing the numbers, at least in California, always spell it with a K, to try to determine how to get the hell out of this state and to get the hell out of law enforcement. And if that's occurring in California, always spell it with a K, occurring with officers from each and every jurisdiction all around here. Atlanta PD, Philadelphia, guaranteed all the leftist cities. In D.C., 600 officers are examining resigning or early retirement. That's with everyone. So, defunding the police, you know what? Before it gets to that point, my guess is police just might decide to defund you. Jack Alexander, final thoughts, sir.
Even if cities get rid of their police departments, then we're not going to be without law enforcement, because we still have the only truly constitutional law enforcement in the country, and that is that of the county sheriffs. So I find a lot of these calls to defund the police crazy. considering you still have your county sheriffs, and a lot of this work will then fall onto them. But yeah, it is a sad time. One of my dreams, if I ever get full-time residency in the United States, was to get involved at a part-time level in a county sheriff's department as a volunteer reserve or something like that. And seeing what's going on now, no, it would be just as dangerous for me or for my family, to even get involved in law enforcement on a volunteer basis.
Yeah.
And look, I love serving the community. I think it's something that we all should look to do. I certainly think it's something beholden on anyone that immigrates to the United States to do whatever they can to serve the community that has welcomed them. But it's strange days indeed. That's for sure.
Leslie Holker in chat says, and this might be an interesting way to sign off, said, "My heart goes out to those who have to walk away from their jobs just to stay alive." Jack Alexander, thank you ever so kindly for being here tonight. Where can people hear your show?
You can catch me Monday to Thursday on my podcast on wherever good podcasts are found for the audio version. I put the video version out on YouTube and Facebook, as well as the links on Magabook as well. At Experiment Jack at Instagram and Twitter, the Jack Alexander Experiment.com website, and watch out in the fall for my book, Philosophy and Flavor. It is a mixture of inspirational sayings that I've used in my life and some of the recipes that have made me put on a lot of weight during the lockdown.
Okay. All right. Folks, that's it for tonight. I'll be back Thursday night, first hour, Kurt Schlichter. Second hour, I'll be dealing more with law enforcement. Jack Alexander, thank you ever so kindly for being here tonight. You are always welcome back here in the saloon. Thanks to the Alaskan, Leslie, Sergeant Booker, guest 5699, infinitely better than guest 5698. All the other people that were in Facebook chat, and all the people that are listening in podcast. God bless you all. And I'll be back Thursday night. Thank you for listening, and thanks. My numbers are going up again into the thousands, so I really appreciate each and every one of you. And with that...
Monsieur has unlocked!
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, thanks for listening to the Bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show, live and direct, right here on the SHR Media Network. If you want to contact me, you can find me on Twitter at BZEP. I am absolutely rampant on Twitter at BZEP, at BZEP. You can also read my stuff on bloviatingzeppelin.net. Promotional consideration is by the Lockheed Martin Skunk Works, and also by the Boeing Company. If it ain't Boeing, I ain't going. Also by Pratt & Whitney Engines Thrust. You can trust. Tiaras are by My Little Pony. You can take this to the bank thanks to my personal KC-135 Kettle One refueling team, with whom I will be consorting in less than an hour. T-shirts featuring that will be coming soon to the saloon. Thanks to Jack for being here tonight. Thanks to everybody for being in chat, both sides, both places, Facebook, YouTube, and also at SHR Media. Thanks to all the people who listen in podcast. A ton of you do. Thanks for taking the time out of your busy day. I'm a late night show, and I appreciate every person that's here. It's a commitment. Thank you.
Everybody quiet down now and get some sleep.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, Mama. Good night, Ben.
Good night, everyone. Good night, Mama. Good night, Daddy.
Good night, children. Good night, Daddy. Good night, Elizabeth.
Good night, John Boy. Good night, Jim Bob. Good night, Jim Bob.
Good night, Jim Bob.
What's going on? I was asleep. What's everybody doing?
Good night.
Good night, Jim Bob.
Good night, and good luck.